Those who have anything to say about the play in the last game, I didn't see the play in real time. I went straight to a press conference. I thought the play got called right. Thankfully, Sophie's okay. Was it egregious? Absolutely. When you have a chance to watch that over and over and over on replay, you can see that. I didn't have that in real time. I take personally any suggestions that I don't 100% always have my players' back. I ride with them 10 toes down all the time. All the time. They know that. It's a shame.
The call is coming from directly inside the house, and the biggest threat to the Indiana Fever was never the opposing squad waiting across the court. The true enemy was standing right on their own sideline wearing a coach's whistle and orchestrating the ultimate inside demolition. We are witnessing the most sickening, jaw-dropping act of treason in the entire history of professional sports. Every single fundamental principle of team loyalty has been completely incinerated right in front of millions of stunned spectators worldwide.
Didn't have that in real time.
Oh, really? That should be behind.
Unbelievable.
Were there any
I take personally any suggestions that I don't 100% always have my players' back.
Stop.
You liar.
I ride with them 10 toes down all the time.
That's ChatGPT
All the
wrote your
time.
speech.
They know that.
They're saying ChatGPT wrote this speech. That's funny.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
It's a shame that we can't have an opportunity to talk about what great basketball they're playing.
Nobody cares about the basketball.
Because they are.
Favorite.
Playing.
Go all the way to the last 20 seconds. Okay.
United, every day these women put their on the line.
And you didn't protect them.
Damn.
Every day. When they go low, we go high. Love will win.
Love will win.
Grace will win.
Grace.
Humility will win.
Look at Grace.
And
It's about to
kindness
show up.
will win.
Kindness.
Here comes
I
kindness.
stand by them.
If you thought the ruthless flagrant fouls and blindside cheap shots were bad, wait until you hear about the devastating insider betrayal that just destroyed a coaching career forever. Stephanie White was trusted to lead this franchise to the promised land, but instead she chose to stab her own players in the back. The sheer magnitude of this scandal has sent shockwaves through every corner of the basketball universe. This is an unprecedented organizational disaster that will be studied by sports historians for decades to come.
And then you tell everybody to go to hell. You think that's going to work for you, Coach White? Think that's going to work for you? The reality of the situation is none of that stuff will win if it's left up to you, Stephanie White. Because you're not handling it right. You playing right into their hands. Right into their hands. Because you're not embracing the reality of the tense situation that the WNBA, and especially you as the coach of the Indiana Fever, is involved in. There are folks in Indiana at a home game booing you. You ain't the road team, you the home team, you the home coach, and they booing you. And Sophie Cunningham and Caitlin Clark can speak up for you all they want to, as they did, and as they should have. But that's not gonna be enough. Sophie Cunningham here, our locker room in there. It's tight and we have each other's backs. She didn't see the clip. Coach loves us. She didn't see the clip, and that's okay. Me and Steph are great. Steph is great with all of us. And so it's really the outside noise that's trying to distract us, but we're good. Before I go any further, let me say this.
In a massive, earth-shattering leak that has completely paralyzed the front office, the Fever coach was officially caught red-handed secretly fraternizing with the ultimate rival. Dijonai Carrington has made a career out of hunting Fever players with malicious intent, yet the head coach was caught covertly siding with her behind closed doors. You cannot make this level of treachery up when professional careers and million-dollar franchises are hanging in the balance. The entire locker room foundation was systematically compromised by the very person hired to defend it.
Want to put Caitlin Clark on the MVP list. She only wanted to put Kelsey Mitchell on it.
Bad idea. Bad idea. I think y'all got to remember, this is not y'all fan base. These are Caitlin Clark fans who are supporting the Indiana Fever and rooting for everyone on the Indiana Fever because they are on Caitlin Clark's team. The minute we see y'all doing janky stuff, y'all liable to get booed too. Y'all liable to get booed too. I'm going to get into Stephanie White, but I got to circle to Aaliyah Boston here really quick before I get into the keys of the game. Aaliyah Boston, what you did on your podcast with Candace Parker It's disgusting, it's unacceptable, and it's disrespectful. For you to watch her list off players for MVP, Asia Wilson, Olivia Miles, and then you insert Kelsey Mitchell. For you to do all of that and never mention Caitlin Clark for MVP is disgusting and is not right. I've been saying for a while, I don't know where Aaliyah Boston stand. You don't stand up for Clark on the court when people push her around, whatever. You never do that. I just took it as she don't mean no harm. She's just soft. Just gotta be real. You hardly react when people push you around. So I just figure she's just soft. Maybe it's not personal. You are showing me that you're not rolling with Clark. And I'm not rolling. If you ain't rolling with CC, I'm not rolling with you. I draw the line in the sand. I'm fine with wherever you stand as long as I know where the hell you stand. And I've been questioning where you stand, but now I think it's very clear. You're on the other side of the line in the sand. You seem to be on the Kelsey Mitchell, Stephanie White line. And this is not to come at Kelsey Mitchell. I hope she has a big game. Her and Caitlin Clark been playing awesome together. This is not to come at Kelsey Mitchell. But the fact that you did not want to include Caitlin Clark in the MVP talks, Aaliyah Boston.
While Dijonai Carrington was out on the hardwood executing violent collisions and physical beatdowns against Indiana players, Coach Stephanie White was quietly validating her hostile behavior. Opposing defenders were practically given a green light to inflict damage on franchise cornerstones without facing any pushback from the Fever bench. This was not a minor tactical misunderstanding or an innocent lapse in communication. It was an active betrayal that left star athletes completely unprotected against brutal, unsanctioned physical punishment during live games.
We can list so many players that she's just done dirty stuff to. Dijonai Carrington is not half as talented as Kennedy Carter. And Kennedy Carter's out of this league. We can get this girl up out of here too. Let's keep it real.
Come down with long fingernails, gouge somebody. She's had multiple instances of chasing people down from behind, trying the same swat and smashing them in the head and causing mini fights. She pulled another girl's hair. I don't know if we'll get to that clip in a second when she's falling.
Look at this. Look at all of this. Oh, like she pulling Sarah Ashley. Now, Sarah Ashley Barker's feet wasn't even on the floor at the time. Sarah Ashley Barker was airborne when she got pulled out of the air by her ponytail by this dirty ass player.
Really dirty play. Look at this. Look at this play. You're not gonna say DJ's a clean player. Let's watch this on the close up. An absolute hair pull. This is the hair pull right here.
John.
What is that? So, I mean, this is not a skin color thing. She has a history of making dirty plays, and it's fine. The NBA, you can be a rough and tumble league. This is a very similar play to what she did to Caitlin, and it starts another little fight, the same exact reaction that Sophie Cunningham.
Look at that. She's hitting people in the face, man. Over and over.
Had where you come down.
ESPN, they'll show you 3 chase down blocks, but they ain't show you this. They didn't show you this, though.
I mean, you're swatting. This one was actually not as bad, but the slow-mo, you'll see she drags her hand over the head. So here's the slow-mo. So you'll see she's making dirty plays. That's clean. That is not when you scratch back across the play. So she makes dirty plays. Now, where this thing gets absolutely bananas is when you start making it into a race and culture war, and the people talking about it are not mentioning 99% of the time that she went back and tweeted white privilege. White privilege how? You made a dirty play. Sophie Cunningham, everyone's putting up clips of her like tackling a player on a drive, defending Caitlin, you say. Well, she got kicked out of the game for that too and didn't say anything after. So when you have commentators like Cheryl Reeves, who I like, Elle Duncan, I'm putting some of the names down, who are like, conservatives are trying, an outside force trying to hijack the WNBA and trying to make everything about race and trying to make it a culture war. No, it's you. It's you guys. And I'm not saying specific, but yes, to Carrington, you specific. When you tweet something so stupid as white privilege, and then you get shocked when people who aren't necessarily WNBA fans, and by the way, I was on the opposite.
If anybody in that front office thought Caitlin Clark was just going to sit back and watch her teammates get sacrificed, they clearly had no idea who they were dealing with. The generational superstar has built her entire career on fearless intensity, unmatched competitive fire, and absolute loyalty to her squad. When the undeniable evidence of this coaching betrayal landed on her desk, the entire dynamic of the organization shifted in a single heartbeat. The predator became the prey as the undisputed face of basketball prepared to clean house. In a locker room confrontation that eyewitnesses are describing as completely terrifying, Caitlin Clark confronted the head coach face to face and unleashed pure verbal devastation. She did not hesitate, she did not flinch, and she did not wait for management permission to defend her team. The tension in that room was thick enough to cut with a blade as the superstar rookie stood her ground against corrupted authority. It was an unforgettable showdown that permanently stripped the coach of every ounce of power she held. Caitlin Clark stepped into that room not just as a player, but as the supreme field general and corporate powerhouse of the entire organization. She looked that coach dead in the eyes and made it crystal clear that traitors would never be allowed inside her locker room again. This was a monumental power shift that completely redefined player leadership in modern sports. She took total control of the franchise narrative and proved that disrespect against her teammates will be met with immediate, ruthless consequences. When the loyal Fever fanbase uncovered the full extent of this unforgivable betrayal, the public reaction was nothing short of total nuclear fallout. Millions of passionate supporters mobilized across every digital platform and organized a massive, unified boycott against the coaching staff. The fans refused to tolerate an inside sabotage of their beloved team and demanded immediate accountability from the highest levels of ownership. The pressure became so immense and overwhelming that the front office had absolutely no room left to maneuver. To truly understand how this coaching empire crumbled into absolute dust, you have to look at the undeniable pattern of evidence that surfaced throughout the year. All season long, fans and analysts were scratching their heads trying to comprehend why the sideline leadership appeared completely lifeless during moments of extreme hostility. We watched opposing enforcers target Indiana players with dangerous plays, yet the coach never once stepped up to demand fair treatment. The truth has finally emerged, and it exposes a calculated conspiracy that ran far deeper than anyone imagined. We watched Dijonai Carrington commit brutal, unapologetic fouls against Fever players on multiple occasions without ever receiving a single word of public condemnation from Stephanie White. We watched Caitlin Clark get battered across the floor, and we watched Sophie Cunningham get taken out with reckless, dangerous contact. Every single time the violence escalated, the head coach remained motionless with her arms crossed, refusing to defend her own roster. That complete silence was not accidental passivity. It was a deliberate choice to abandon her players to the wolves. A head coach has one primary, sacred responsibility above all else, and that is to fiercely protect the athletes who put their bodies on the line every single night. When referees swallow their whistles and allow dangerous non-calls to pile up, the coach must stand up and fight for the safety of the squad. Stephanie White completely refused to challenge the officials or draw technical fouls to protect her players from physical injury. She stood as a passive spectator while her starting lineup was treated like punching bags on national television. For months, basketball analysts and commentators tried to write off these alarming sideline reactions as simple tactical flaws or passive coaching philosophies. We all desperately wanted to believe it was just poor leadership or inexperienced decision-making in high-pressure moments. We were completely and totally wrong because the newly leaked documents proved it was a calculated inside betrayal from the start. The head coach was actively working against the interests of her own roster while smiling for the media cameras at post-game press conferences. Behind heavily closed doors, the unthinkable was happening as leaked communications confirmed the absolute worst fears of the entire locker room. Stephanie White was caught secretly communicating with Dijonai Carrington outside of team channels and away from the view of the organization. Instead of strategizing on how to neutralize the opposing enforcer, the coach was offering private praise and encouragement to the rival. It represents the ultimate slap in the face to every player sweating and bleeding for the Indiana Fever jersey. The coach went out of her way to validate Carrington's hyper-aggressive play style, completely sabotaging the morale and unity of her own locker room. She was practically handing over the tactical blueprint and psychological keys to the castle to the fiercest enemy of the franchise. To praise the very player who was actively trying to injure your franchise cornerstone is an unforgivable offense in any competitive sport. She chose to validate the villain while completely throwing her own vulnerable athletes directly under the bus. When you are trusted with the keys to an elite professional basketball team, selling out your players to an opposing rival is the ultimate act of organizational sabotage. Coach Stephanie White abandoned her duty of care and traded locker room trust for private alliances with opposing players. This toxic dynamic created an unbearable environment of paranoia and suspicion that threatened to tear the entire team apart from within. The foundation was rotting from the top down, and a massive explosion was completely inevitable. A secret this hazardous, corrupt, and damaging to team integrity could never stay buried beneath the surface forever. When the documented proof of this secret fraternization finally made its way into the hands of Caitlin Clark, the entire sports world paused. Caitlin has demonstrated world-class shooting range and fearless competitiveness on the court, but nobody had ever witnessed the terrifying fury she brought to that private locker room. The moment of reckoning had arrived, and no amount of corporate spin could stop the coming storm. Caitlin Clark did not run to the press to leak anonymous complaints or hide behind public relations statements issued by team management. She took immediate, aggressive ownership of the crisis and marched directly into the facility like a seasoned military commander taking control of a compromised base. She locked the locker room door behind her to ensure that the confrontation would happen without interference from outside executives. The stage was set for the most intense and volatile leadership purge in modern sports history. Witnesses present in the facility reported that Caitlin Clark stepped directly into the coach's personal space and delivered an absolute masterclass in raw, unfiltered accountability. She demanded to know how a supposed leader could look her own players in the eye while secretly praising the rival attempting to injure them. She did not hold back a single syllable as she dismantled every excuse and corporate talking point the coach tried to throw together. The room stood in dead silence as the rookie Phenom laid down the law. Caitlin Clark screamed with unmatched passion that the Indiana Fever locker room was officially closed to traitors, backstabbers, and double agents permanently. She stripped the head coach of every shred of residual authority right there on the spot in front of the entire roster. She delivered a definitive ultimatum, telling Stephanie White that her time running this team was completely over and demanding her immediate departure. It was an unprecedented demonstration of athletic authority that instantly unified the players behind their true captain. This legendary confrontation marked a historic power shift, where the greatest rookie Phenom in basketball history successfully defended her entire franchise against an internal predator. Caitlin Clark proved beyond a shadow of a doubt that she is the undisputed leader and alpha of this team. She established a zero-tolerance policy for disrespect, disloyalty, and insider sabotage that will define the culture of the franchise for the next generation. The coach had completely lost the locker room, and her career was officially on life support. You can attempt to sweep internal controversy under the rug, but in the modern digital age, the truth always finds a way into the public spotlight. When the fiercely protective and hyperloyal Fever fanbase discovered the full reality of this betrayal, they mobilized with military precision. Thousands of dedicated supporters organized digital campaigns, flooded team hotlines, and demanded the immediate termination of the compromised head coach. The front office realized within hours that the fan revolt was growing far too massive to contain or ignore. The fans did not limit their outrage to angry social media posts and internet commentary sections. They brought the fight directly into the arena. An organized, real-life boycott was launched by ticket holders who refused to support a coaching staff that allowed their stars to be targeted. The atmosphere surrounding the franchise transformed into a pressure cooker where every single executive move was scrutinized under a microscope. The front office was left with only one viable option: terminate the coach immediately to save the season. Today was officially designated as the final humiliating day of Stephanie White's tenure as head coach of the Indiana Fever. Management had no choice but to force her out following Caitlin Clark's unyielding ultimatum and the overwhelming backlash from the global basketball community. However, the passionate fans in attendance wanted to ensure that the disgraced coach experienced the full weight of her treason before she walked out the door. The stage was set for one of the most hostile farewells in professional sports history. As Stephanie White walked out onto the hardwood for her final public appearance, the arena erupted into the loudest, most deafening chorus of boos ever recorded in the WNBA. Thousands of furious fans held up handmade signs labeling her a traitor and an enemy to the team. Entire sections of the arena turned their backs to the court in a powerful display of total rejection and disgust. The collective roar of outrage echoed through the rafters, completely overwhelming the television broadcast microphones. The entire arena shook as thousands of passionate supporters chanted Caitlin Clark's name at the top of their lungs, while the coach stood in stunned disbelief. The overwhelming hostility reached such extreme levels that arena security had to physically form a protective perimeter around the disgraced coach. She was forced to take the ultimate walk of shame down the tunnel while looking up at a sea of fans celebrating her immediate firing. Her legacy was permanently shattered in the very building she was hired to lead. Stephanie White managed to destroy her entire coaching reputation, alienate the most generational superstar in sports history, and choose the enemy over her own basketball family. The consequences of her calculated betrayal arrived with absolute finality as she was escorted out of the building for the final time. There is no coming back from a public humiliation of this magnitude, especially when your own players refuse to share a sideline with you. Her departure marks the end of a dark and toxic chapter in franchise history. The loyal fans ensured that her name will forever be etched in the history books as the ultimate traitor who tried to undermine greatness from within. Today marks a historic turning point where the Indiana Fever officially purged the toxic elements holding back their championship potential. Caitlin Clark has emerged from this intense organizational warfare as the undisputed, untouchable boss of professional women's basketball. She identified the internal threat, neutralized the sabotage, and reclaimed the locker room for the players who actually care about winning. Caitlin Clark took out the trash that was compromising her team, and the dedicated fan base helped her slam the dumpster door shut permanently. The Indiana Fever now move forward with unbreakable unity, supreme confidence, and a battle-tested locker room that has survived the ultimate test of loyalty. Opposing teams and corrupt officials now know that this roster cannot be broken by outside violence or inside betrayal. The entire league has been put on notice that Caitlin Clark and her squad are completely unstoppable. This unprecedented saga will stand as a permanent reminder to every coach and executive across professional sports that player loyalty is absolute and non-negotiable. When you attempt to betray generational icons like Caitlin Clark and Sophie Cunningham, the blowback will annihilate your career in record time. The power dynamic in modern athletics has shifted completely toward the athletes who put everything on the line on the hardwood. The Indiana Fever are officially liberated from internal sabotage, and their championship window is wide open. What do you think about this historic showdown? Are you completely stunned that a head coach would secretly align with a rival enforcer like Dijonai Carrington? Did Caitlin Clark make the absolute right decision by taking command and confronting the traitor in the locker room? How satisfying was it to watch that arena boo the disgraced coach right out of the building? Leave your unfiltered thoughts in the comments below, smash that subscribe button, and hit the like button right now to support Caitlin Clark.